How's it going, guys? This is Jonathan Hill, PGA number 120384, and this is my In the Bag. To start out the video, I'm going to start with my putters. So for putting, I've got two Team Discmaniac D-Line P2s. These are pretty straight flyers for me. They're getting a lot more beat in, so they're becoming a little understable, but either way, they work extremely well for me. Going into more of my throwing putters, I have an Exo Hard Link. It's an OTB stamp. This is my go-to for about anything approach backhands. It sticks to the ground where I like it, which is a big benefit. Next, I got my Sky God 4. This is more of if I want to really pull on something, I can really turn it over and it will come back. It is a pretty stable run, and I just really enjoy the look and the feel of the Sky God 4. Next, I have an S-Line P3X. This disc is pretty much all forehands, sometimes backhands. It is a little stable, but it can be understable if you really pull on it on a forehand. But for this disc, I like to really just touch shots with the forehand as well as the backhand. It is a very solid disc to go to. Next, I'll get more into my approach disc that I have. I have a Neo Mutant. This is actually from the Florida Rotary tournaments that they had back in Florida, Illinois. And this disc, I kid you not, is one of the best forehand approach discs that I have ever thrown. This disc is always going to come back. It is extremely stable, and it's almost kind of like the baby to this next approach disc that I have, which is the Meta Tilt. This disc is pretty much just a gag type of disc. It does crazy, insane stuff. I more so have it in the bag just because it's a cool disc to have. On top of, if I'm ever in the woods and I just have no shot whatsoever, sometimes I'll grab this and throw it as hard as I can to see if it'll cut any limbs out to get out of the mess that I've gotten myself in. So with that, that is my putt and approach disc. So the next slot in my bag is actually the mid-range spot. Right now I only carry 4 mid-ranges, but only 3 molds. To start out, we'll go into my Origins. So I have 2 Origins. This one is really beat in, extremely understable. I can really just turn it over and know it's gonna hold that line all the way. And then next, I also have another. This is a brand new Origin, actually dyed by Mike Kemp at Black Vinyl Disc. And this one is a little more stable than that one since it is brand new. But once again, it will turn over and hold, which is a great disc to have, especially being out here in the mountain area. The next one is actually a pretty cool disc. It's a Baseline Active Spring Ox. And this one is a dead straight flyer for me. Actually at Am Worlds this year, I had a 200-foot throw in on hole 1 to be one of the only birdies on the hole. And it was an extremely hard par 3, and the 200-foot throw in was something that I will hold on to for a while. And then lastly, I have my stable MD3 C-Line. This disc is gonna go fade every single time. I can always trust it. So if I turn it over a little bit, I know it's gonna come back. But yeah, with that, that is my mid-range. Alrighty, so next we're gonna get into my personal favorite, which is the Fairway Control Power Driver range. And the first disc I have is this C-Line FD. This is one of the Innova molds. This disc is a pure straight flyer for me. I can always just trust it to stay straight and have that little dump off at the end. It is currently one of my workhorses in my bag that gets a lot of throws on it. So next, I have an older end of the run as well, which is the S-Line TDX with the American flag stamp as well. This one I actually got from Nate Perkins at his booth at Ledgestone. So this disc is a pretty understable flyer for me actually. I still need to beat it in a little more to where I really want it. But if I'm ever missing one of my essences or anything like that, this is a disc that I go to. Which, speaking of which, our next disc that I have in my bag are the Essence. This one, shout out to the Levi's who got this back to me. This is an extremely understable Essence. It is great for turning over and just holding that line, as well as if I really want to, it is a great roller disc to really flip over and get on that angle that I'm wanting. Next, I have just a brand new stock run of the Essence. This flies exactly how you would think right out of the box. It's going to have that understable and just hold, as well as I also have this disc, which was done by Happy Tree Dyes. Jillian Carpenter, she did a phenomenal job on this Essence. This one I throw quite a bit. It is actually a little more stable than these two, but I can always flip it over once again and it will slightly come back to fade back out. Next, we're going to go to my Roaming Thunder 2. This is a very straight flyer for me. This is one that I've had for a long time, and more so it's still in my bag just because I've had it for a very long time and haven't had a reason to take it out. But it's a disc that I still enjoy very much. Next, I have a stable disc, which is the Instinct. This disc I could really flip on over and it's always going to come back left. It is a great contrast to the FD that I showed you earlier, but I just got that one at Worlds this year. Next, I got a FD3, and these next three discs really go hand in hand, so I'll just put them all together. So I've got the S-Line FD3 and two Neo splices. The two Neo splices are brand new, and I can really forehand them on an angle, and it's always going to come back left, whereas the FD3 is going to hold a little bit more going down to the left side, but then it'll always dish back out. So these discs are very good for my forehand, and I will continue to throw them on the forehand line. This next one, I decided to die with my buddy Tyler Hurry. We started just messing around and decided to do some of the Simon dies. But yes, this is a C-Line PD. This disc, most of the time I will throw it on backhands because I know that I can really rip on over it, but it is going to fade back out to the left and come out. But every once in a while I will throw it on a forehand if I'm not feeling comfortable with any of the splice or FD3. But this is a disc that I'm becoming very confident in, and I'm looking forward to continue throwing it. And with that, that will be my Fairway control and power driver line. Alrighty, and finally we're going to get into the distance drivers. So first I've got the Active Premium Astronaut. Once again, Tyler and I got a hold of it and dyed it. But this thing is stupid understable. I could flip it over and it's going to go into a roller, or I can go massive anhyzer and it just holds that right side the whole way, and it is extremely glidey when it does get up in the air. And then when I don't have that disc, or I'm just not feeling comfortable with it, I go to the DD Hysteria. This plastic feels very weird just because of how much has been in the water and other places. And it's been extremely beat in just for the fact of this is one of my very first discs that I ever got. So it's gotten a lot of work. Next, I have 3 PD2s. The first one's a Sky Rider. This is my backhand PD2. I know I can turn it over and it's going to come back left, but it just feels very comfortable for backhands. Whereas the next two, a C-line PD2 and an S-line PD2. Both of these are pretty stable. The C-line's a little more stable than the S-line, but both of these are my forehand PD2s. I know that I can turn them over and they're going to always fade back out. So these are both big workhorses in my bag. Next, I have one of the new C-line DD3s. I haven't got to throw it very much, but I know that it's going to have a big place in my bag once I start getting more comfortable with it. But it's a little more understable than this Cloudbreaker 3. So I'll be throwing this one more on backhands than anything else. And then this one here was dyed by Justin Payne, and it's extremely stable. I was not expecting it to be as stable as it is. So a lot of times I'll throw on forehands, but sometimes on backhands if I need a big hyzer. And then finally I got my 3 workhorses to give me my most distance, which is the Majesty. This Majesty, a little more understable than these two, but I know it's always going to fade back out. It is used dominantly for backhands, just because I know I can get the distance from it. And then finally I have my 2 biggest workhorses, which are the Enigmas, the Vapor, as well as the Neo. I know that I can just really rip on these, and they're always going to just come back to the left. But these are going to be my most distance that I get out of any of my discs. And with that, that's my distance drivers. And finally, this is the bag that I'm carrying. This is the Squatch Legend, the 2.1 edition. These actually just got released not too long ago. They're super durable, super compact. They carry tons of disc, as well as you've got a cooler on the side to keep your drinks cold. And overall, this is just a phenomenal bag, and I would suggest it to anyone. And with that, that'll be my In the Bag. If you guys will, just follow us on Instagram, FlexStart Disc Golf Podcast, as well as we have our podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. We encourage you guys to go take a listen to those things, as well as we are starting our YouTube channel, where we will be posting content of in the bags, rounds, just everything disc golf, so you can stay in the know. And with that, as Will always says, if you miss a putt low, because you really didn't want to make it. So we'll see you guys later.